Hello there. In this video we're going to get started on our new project. What we're going to do is create a wireframe, which is a blue line example of what the overall design is going to look like. We're going to get started in this directly in Flash Catalyst. So let's actually go into there now. So inside of Flash Catalyst, I have the option of creating a new project from a design file. This could be an Illustrator file, a Photoshop file, or it could be a project that's exported into a file format known as FXG. In this particular project, though, we're going to start off in Flash Catalyst. So if you look at the bottom, there's an option here called Create New Project. So we're going to select that and create a new Flash Catalyst project. We're going to name our project. In this case, let's call it the name of our fictional airline, so Catalyst Airlines. And we're going to set you can set the width and height of your project here. So I'm going to do 640 by 480. And we're going to keep the default background color of white. So I'm going to click OK. Catalyst is going to create a blank project. And what we're going to do is use the wireframe drawing tools and the wireframe components to start dragging out elements that's going to mock up the user interface of our overall application. So once you've created the project, you'll see that all the panels are located on the right-hand side. So we have our Layers panel, our Library panel, which currently is empty since we don't have anything in our project yet, and then also our Wireframe Components panel. This is what we're going to use for most of this particular video. Underneath that, you'll see we have the Interactions panel as well as the Properties panel. We're not going to use those quite yet, so we'll actually hold off on those for a little bit. Inside of our Wireframe Components panel, you'll see that there are a number of pre-built and pre-configured components that are available for us to immediately use. These include buttons, checkboxes, data lists, scroll bars, toggle buttons, sliders, all kinds of other interactive controls. What we're going to use is the button for this particular video. And if I take the button and I drag that out to my stage, you'll see that you get a basic button. This button has a kind of blue look to it. These buttons are intentionally devoid of any sophisticated design. That's because we're focusing on the intent of the application, not necessarily the visual design quite yet. So when I actually bring out a new button, I actually can resize that. So I can actually make that wider or taller based on whatever I'm doing for this particular wireframe. If you notice, let me expand the Properties panel down here on the lower right-hand side. And you'll see that all kinds of different properties of the object that I've selected are available in this particular panel. I can set the X and Y coordinate. I can also set the width or height. And something that's common with a button is the button label. I can give all of my buttons a unique label by modifying the label property in the Properties panel. So let's actually create the wireframe for our single page application for right now, and then we'll actually make that a multiple page wireframe in the next video. So I'm going to take this button that we created out here on the stage, and then I'm going to move that down to the bottom. I actually want the navigation of my particular application to have all the buttons lined up at the bottom of the particular page. So here, let's actually create a couple duplicates of this button. Now, I could actually drag out another button from the wireframe component panel, or if I want, I could just copy and paste the existing button that I've already positioned. So let's actually delete this other one that I dragged out and just copy, and then I can paste. If you hold down the Shift button, you'll actually be able to constrain to a horizontal or vertical constraint, which will help drag these out so that they're all lined up. So then we'll copy and paste that one again. So there, now we've got 3 buttons. Each one doesn't have a unique label, so let's actually go in, we can actually change the label of these buttons. So we'll call the first one Welcome. The second one we'll call Eat. And then the last one we'll call Watch. Now I also want to have some sort of header at the top. I don't actually know what the header is going to look like yet, but I know I want to have something up there. So we can use the text tool to quickly just put some text up at the top that will capture the header area. So I'm going to go to the top here and say Catalyst Airlines. And with that selected, I'm going to just kind of move that into the right spot. So let's actually take a look at the Properties panel for the text tool. You notice that there are quite a few options here. So I just want to walk through what a couple of these things are. The first are the different types of text that you can actually work with inside of Flash Catalyst. The first is called point text. That means that your text is going to have an X and Y origin, but it's not going to have any width, or it's not going to have really any text area. I can change that to what's known as area text, where now my text field has a specific width or height. So if I actually take a look at, if I modify the width here and say let's change that to 150, and I change the height here to 50, you'll see that the text area on the left on the actual design matches those particular settings. The last one is a little bit unique, which is called fit height. When I do fit height, you'll notice that width is the only thing that I can modify. The height will adjust itself based on whenever I actually type inside of it. So if I do Catalyst Airlines and I put in a couple extra lines, and I add a couple other words, the height will automatically update when I use fit height as a text option. So the other options that I have here are the basic fonts, the color, and the size. I can define whether I want my fonts to be underlined or striked through. And I can have a couple other options here for alignment, baseline shift, as well as other common type options. So let's go in and modify our type. So we make that a little bit bigger. Let's make it 24. And I can actually drag the handles out to make that a single line. Now I also have this line tool that I'm going to use to just quickly draw out a single line to define our header, and then I also want to draw another line down here at the bottom to define our footer. Now I also want to bring, I know I want some sort of opening animation on the start of my project when it launches. So there's not really a way for me to really create that yet, but I want to create a placeholder for right now. So if I use the rectangle tool, I actually can draw a particular rectangle. And let's just give that a little bit of a fill just so I can visually discern that from the other things on my stage. So let's just give that a kind of a light blue fill. So using Flash Catalyst, I've been able to create a really basic wireframe for an example application. In the next video, we're going to use this as a template and then start building out the other pages of our application based on this first page.